Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of ROOTCON 15. First of all, I would like to thank the ROOTCON team for inviting me to speak at ROOTCON 15. It's an absolute pleasure to be delivering today's keynote. Unfortunately, I can't be with all of you physically this year, but I'll be around Discord, so hit me up, come say hi. I love to talk about anything and all things cybersecurity. As much as my title suggests about hacking the planet, I'm not going to talk about hacking the latest technology that is empowering our digital world. So nothing fancy about quantum or AI or autonomous vehicles or even blockchain, right? I'm, however, going to talk about something a little bit more primitive than this. And I'm going to talk about cybersecurity, right? Well, we are in a cybersecurity conference, so what else am I going to talk about, right? But more specifically, I'm going to talk about the security aspects of what we are securing in cybersecurity. I know I'm already in a couple of slides in, and I still haven't really introduced myself properly. I'm Emil. ROOTCON has my bio. You can check it out. You can also find me on Twitter and LinkedIn. So I'm not going to go into details on my profile. I'm kind of everywhere here and there in multiple pockets of time and space in the cybersecurity universe. To put it simply, I usually just say I work in cybersecurity. You're also here today because you're working in cybersecurity or studying cybersecurity or just interested in cybersecurity. I've done various different things in the field of cybersecurity, R&D, DFIR, GRC, the whole range of alphabet soup and terminologies. And I'm sure you have already seen and experienced yesterday, as well as you will do more even today at ROOTCON. Experience the vibrancy of the field and ecosystem of cybersecurity. Right, there are just so many elements, domains, and technology areas to explore. Right, ranging from cyber defense to VM technology to automotive security, malware hunting, authentication bypassing, fuzzing, software security, and many, many more. Right. I'm sure you agree, it's hard to get bored in this field. There's always so much to see, so much to learn, and so much to get your hands on, right? But somehow, right, with all this diversity of things that we are doing, we are converged into this magical word called cybersecurity, right? So what exactly is cybersecurity? What are we doing? And are we even doing it correctly, right? So for those who are there physically in the Philippines at the conference, look to your left and now look to your right. And we are probably all doing different things in cybersecurity, right? And we might even have various different views and very differing views on what cybersecurity really is. So with us doing all these things, all this diversity of things, are we making cyberspace, the digital world, or even the planet a better, safer, or more secure place by doing whatever we are doing? So to answer these questions, for many years, I went on a mission, a hunt, and many rabbit holes trying to understand cybersecurity. I did dive into many disciplines trying to understand the field, and I truly believe to understand something, to truly understand something, we need to break everything down and rebuild it up again, right? Hence, for me to truly understand what cybersecurity is, I spend a lot of time studying all the different perspectives across disciplines. I'm not going to dive into every single pixel of details of the research I've done. What I'll be doing instead is I will briefly, really briefly, cover some bits of my research, which explains why, when I'm truly honest with myself, why I don't like to say that I work in cybersecurity as part of my introduction. And maybe you'll be like me as well by the end of the talk. Do note that because I'm just scraping the surface of the research I've done, I'll be generalizing some concepts, but still, I'll cover just deep enough for all of us to reflect upon our importance in the field of cybersecurity. Speaking of breaking everything down, right? Before building it back up again, first we need to ask ourselves, what is security? Right? According to the Oxford Dictionary, it's the state of being free from danger or threat, right? Although we can relate this state to our day-to-day feelings of being safe and not threatened, it is challenging to interpret this definition in the context across disciplines. Everyone interprets it differently, right? When you deep dive into security, and rightly so, there is a heavy sovereign and military context to it, on politics, on international relations, and well, everything falls under the big umbrella of national security. Historically speaking, this notion of national security were heavily associated with, like I mentioned earlier, sovereignty, and is understood in military terms, right? But recently, this whole notion, it's shaken up, right? It's because it's a whole new world out there in the past few decades, right? The majority of the world is somewhat peaceful, right? Well, relatively so, as compared to say 1 or 2 centuries ago, right? And that's because the world, and because of this, the world is majority peaceful, again, relatively so. We have more time to care about other things beyond military strength, right? We have time to care about things like economics and deep dive and think more and think harder about economics and social vitalities of nations. Because of this, since the Cold War, and even more so after the fall of Berlin Wall, national security agendas were broadened from strictly focusing on security of sovereignty to include security of people, right? Lots of security scholars and policymakers went mental on this progress, and many subjects were proposed to be considered national security issues, right? And it reached a point that security became a synonyms for everything that is good or desirable. And that's actually not a very good thing at all. Definitely not for cybersecurity. And we'll see why later. So we can't define cybersecurity, or we can't define security, right, at this stage. But to build the concept back up, we still need to understand security, or at least understand the concept of security. Right, so security scholars, academics researching into international security agendas and development, they propose to engage this problem by asking 3 questions. What is it that is being secured? What constitutes the condition of security? And how do ideas about security develop, right? So the first 2 questions were found to be either too ambiguous or too difficult to determine and impossible to appraise. But the last question, the third question here, which seeks to understand how security agendas were developed, or how, or more technically, how agendas were securitized. This was seen as the key to explain the concept of security. So since then, securitization, right, this process of securitization, that is the development process and study of the establishments and formulation of security agendas, has since been the focal point of security studies among security theorists and academics. While it is natural to assume that the seriousness of a threat perceived by, say, the government or military or a country or nation state is directly reflected in its national security agendas or national security policy, interestingly, it's found that there's no such correlation was found at all. Instead, a interesting pattern emerged that indicates that the formation of nation security agenda depends on how threats were articulated. And this renders the whole process of securitization as a speech act. Right? And the Speech Act protocol highlights that securitization is not a natural process of dealing with natural threats, and it's not just a simple utterance of security, and it will just become, and through that it will just become a national security agenda, right? It actually makes the whole security process also involves, the whole securitization process also involves the element of the audience, the acceptance of the speech by attempts to speak a security agenda into existence. So before I go further, I would like to show here. I would like to show a short clip from one of my favorite British series, a very old series called Yes Minister, or to be more accurate, in this case, it's from the sequel Yes Prime Minister. Highly recommend this series for anyone who actually likes political comedy. Right. So to set a little bit context before I play the video, on the left-hand side, we have Bernard Wally, who is actually the PPS, the Principal Private Secretary. He was told to do a survey about the British citizens' sentiment of bringing back national service, or what some countries call military conscription. Right. The result was citizens were in favor. Right. But then Sir Humphrey, the guy on the right over here, who's actually the PermSec, the permanent secretary, actually told him to redo the survey, so that the result is negative instead. And Bernard was just like, wait, what are you talking about? So.
Well, the party have had an opinion poll done. It seems all the voters are in favour of bringing back national service.
Well, I have another opinion poll done showing the voters are against bringing back national service.
We can't be for it and against.
Of course they can, Bernard. Have you ever been surveyed? I was asking you some questions. Mr. Woolley, are you worried about the number of young people without jobs?
Yes.
Are you worried about the rise in crime among teenagers?
Yes.
Do you think there's a lack of discipline in our comprehensive schools?
Yes.
Do you think young people welcome some authority and leadership in their lives?
Yes.
Do you think they respond to a challenge?
Yes.
Would you be in favour of reintroducing national service?
Yes. Oh, well, I suppose I might.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Woolley, are you worried about the danger of war?
Yes.
Are you worried about the growth of armaments?
Yes.
Do you think there's a danger in giving young people guns and teaching them how to kill?
Yes.
Do you think it's wrong to force people to take up arms against their will?
Yes.
Would you oppose the reintroduction of national service?
Yes.
So, as we see here, securitization as a speech act can really lead a security agenda astray if we are, us as audience or even as experts, if we are not objective, we are not educated enough, or if we are, if we scarce easy, right? We might think that we know what we are doing, but in fact, start working in someone else's continuous misguided articulation in the name of security.
Well,
So in my study of the securitization of cyberspace, I trace back to the 1980s, and in particular the US, because they were one of the most advanced country in this area back in the days. I observed the development of security rhetorics over time. Quite interestingly, it kind of started with the movie War Games. I'm not going to go too much details on this today for today's speech. But the whole notion of cybersecurity really starts to brew from two reports by the National Research Council. Right, it's a very powerful articulations of cybersecurity as well. It started off saying we are at risk, right? It then links to the everyday dependent on computers controlling power delivery, communications, aviations, and financial services. Computers, them being used to store vital information from medical records to business plans to criminal records. That although we trust them, they are vulnerable, right? That a modern thief can steal more with a computer than a gun, and tomorrow's terrorists may be able to do more damage with keyboard than with a bomb, right? And you can just see how a short little sentence just blew the whole consequence out of proportion very, very quickly, from computers, the benefits of it into terrorism and bombs, right? So fast forward, cyber threats was really securitized. So this notion, this articulation was built up over time, and it was really, really securitized during the Clinton administration by leveraging on the topic of critical infrastructure in under the umbrella of national security agenda, right? Or in the national security agenda. And as we can see here, until today, the topic of critical information infrastructure is still being talked about, although much progress has been made since then. But you can see the longevity of certain cybersecurity topics that still sticks in national security agendas for the last 2 or 3 decades, right? So and in order to present such a technical subject back in the days as a security problem, and you have to think about in those era, not everyone truly understand computers, and lots of people are actually scared of computers itself, right? Because it's such a big mystery and it's not a commodity like today. And because of that, cybersecurity was identified and actually discussed as a topic of terrorism and warfare. And such threat rhetorics, right? Such cybersecurity threat rhetorics is just it's just horrible because it discounts other areas of national concern, such as what computers can bring, the benefits that computers can bring in terms of economic growth or in terms of market access, law enforcement, and the law enforcement aspect of cybersecurity, right? And this practice is just horrible for cybersecurity as a whole. Because when there's cybersecurity news, it is bad news. People wanted it solved right away when cybersecurity is being discussed, right? Which is rightfully so for any security agendas, right? When you identify an enemy, you want to get rid of it immediately with whatever possible means. Just remember that that's how a lot of things was being done back in the days, right? And we all know that that's not what cybersecurity is about. Hence that treating cybersecurity as a security agenda can really hurt the entire industry. But it's really difficult to disassociate this way of managing cybersecurity because the word security is in the name of our field. So a general school of thoughts is that more security is better than unsecurity, or more security is better than insecurity, right? But security should be and must be discouraged as much as possible, because the excessive rights given to securitizing, someone who is actually securitizing an issue to act on the security issue of emerging status emboldens a lesser democratic solution. In essence, it symbolizes the failure to manage issue under normal politics, processes, and procedures, right? So although securitization is needed, it's very tempting to be used as a stabilizing factor in certain threatening conflicts or developments to nation state. Studies and lots of cases have shown that it is undesirable and counterproductive in most cases, and as we can see when we are tackling issues such as environmental issues and as well as market economy, right? We can't really securitize the environment and the whole of the market, right? So on top of all this, traditional desire of absolute protection of the people and the nation state has turned security into a binary concept that you're either secure or you're not. However, and we all know that protecting everything and achieving absolute security is impossible, especially in this current world. So in contrast to this traditional view of absolute security, protection of society actually requires the creation of a security environment that works with the grain of the society. So if we take cybersecurity as a security agenda, the fear of cyberspace as a vulnerability to nation state is in juxtaposition to the benefits and prosperity information system or technology can bring to society, right? Cybersecurity requires the creation of an environment that balances between security and the market economy, and between state and societal interests, right? Such a balancing act can only be achieved through governance model of risk management, right? The concept of risk is fundamentally linked to the notion of indefinite security and ongoing administration of risk. Therefore, it actually provides a continual creation and maintenance of a unsecure or insecure environment. So we actually really need, what we really need is to desecuritize cybersecurity and work on it as a strategy in which security is sought and produced. So are we all really working in cybersecurity? Are we really studying or practicing cybersecurity? Sure. We are part of the cybersecurity strategic discourse. By doing what we do, deep diving into technology, sharing information, the know-hows, and working together to protect the global cyberspace, we are maintaining the cause of desecuritizing cyberspace, right? So us as hackers, right, we play a very big role in cyber safety and cybersecurity, right? We need to continue to deepen our understanding of cybersecurity from the perspective of people, process, and technology, and maintain this security or this strategic discourse through better cooperation, collaboration, and innovation, right? And not always just securitize any problems when an issues gets hard to solve, right? We are hackers, we are innovators, we are problem solvers. So let us all play our part, right? Enjoy the rest of the conference, learn from your peers and experts here in ROOTCON. Let us all secure cyberspace together. Thank you.